Welcome to episode 92 of the Family Geekery Podcast. I'm Danny.
I'm Amber.
And I'm Chris.
And today we're talking about GalaxyCon.
Yeah.
What is GalaxyCon?
A yearly Comic Con in Richmond.
Yeah. They actually have them all over the place. This one happened to be in Richmond this past weekend at time of recording. And Family Geekery attended.
We did.
We were not tabled, but
No, we're not there yet.
Around.
We didn't get a GalaxyCon table.
But we were well represented there and checked it all out. So that's what we're going to talk about this week.
Yep.
But before that,
Geeky Week.
who's kicking off the Geeky Weeks?
I can kick it off.
All right.
So I started listening to The Silver Chair, the next book in the Chronicles of Narnia series. It's good, but it's not the first one without the Pevensies, but it's the first one, like, timeline-wise without the Pevensies. So it's a little weird to not have them, but it's got Eustace in it and his friend Jill, and I like Jill. She's fun. But I also finished the Avatar live action. I heard that this was confirmed, but I really hope it's not confirmed. But they fired the girl who plays Azula. Because they don't fit her image of the character or something. I'm like, that's weird and sus. And I thought she did a great job, so I hope they rehire her if it's true, and I hope it's not true. But speaking of Netflix, they have games now?
Yeah, Netflix has had games for a while, like mobile games and stuff.
I didn't know they had games. I just figured that out today. And they've got some like Reigns is on there, which I have. I mean, it's like a $2 game, but I have it on Steam, and I'm like, whoa! I could have just waited and played it for free on Netflix. But I don't know why they need to have games. What do they think they are? Gamefly? Anyways, that's a old reference.
I think Gamefly's still around.
They're still around. We got accidentally mailed a Gamefly game.
What?
Accidentally?
Yeah.
Are they expecting it back?
I forget what we did with it. I think we returned it.
Wasn't that like Redbox but for games?
It was Netflix but for games. And then Netflix decided to just be an internet thing. Anyways, that was my week. I also went to GalaxyCon.
Cool.
Wow. Crazy coincidence.
Sounds like fun. We'll have to talk about that.
Yeah.
All right, Danny, how about you?
Well, I went to GalaxyCon.
Wow.
I played the new season of Fortnite. It's Greek mythology themed. I just played a little bit. And I am still watching Private Practice. That's about it.
Cool. I've been watching the animated Avatar series.
Good.
Nice.
I'm about 5 episodes in, I think, so far. And I really like it. It's really funny.
Yeah.
Like, the comedy is great in it. And it tells a good story. And it also, each episode kind of like teaches a lesson, which is something that the cartoons that I grew up with kind of tried to do. You know, the
and the lesson was often buy our toys.
Right. That was the lesson. But yeah, I'm really enjoying these shows that I should have watched a long time ago, but enjoying it right now.
Good.
And then I've been playing a little bit of Dreamlight Valley,
Oh yeah, me too.
trying to catch up
Monsters
with the
Inc. is
current event.
out.
But yeah, just kind of grinding through that. And there's a Steam sale currently on right now. And I waited long enough that the DLC for Dreamlight Valley is on the Steam sale.
Oh, congrats.
It's like 25% off or something, but every little bit helps, so I'm going to try that. And speaking of Steam,
Oh,
late breaking news. Did you get a notification from Steam today?
no. What?
They're doing a beta test of a new family share type thing.
Where you can play multiple games? And you can play games? Even if your dad is playing an idle game 24/7, you can still play his games?
Yeah. So basically how it works is you set up your family and your libraries, I don't want to say get combined per se, but the quantity of the titles that you have get combined. So like if I owned Portal 2 and I was playing it, you couldn't play it. But if I own Portal 2 and you own Portal 2, Amber, then we could both play it, or I could play it and Danny could play it, even if she didn't own it. So two people could play it concurrently.
Oh.
But
Ooh.
you could still play something other than Portal as long as we have a copy of that. So now this all is obviously in beta, and it's also contingent on the developer allowing it. So the developer can say, for whatever reason, hey, I don't want my game, or we don't want our game to participate in the family share. But there's other restrictions, obviously. Also, if the game is a subscription based game, then you don't, the other person doesn't get to play it because it's just one subscription. But it sounds good. It sounds like a big leap forward that they should have done a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now they're gonna go from beta to, having it available. And then they're going to be like, yeah, you have to be on the same Wi-Fi. You have to be on the same blah, blah, blah. You have to blah, 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 blah.
It's possible.
Pulling Netflix.
But yeah, there's some good information on their website about it. So if you're a family listening to this and that's something that interests you, go check that out.
Yeah.
And also, speaking of sales, if you have The Sims 4 and you don't have the Backyard Stuff pack, it's free right now. Just free.
That's a good sale.
So, yeah.
I like that sale.
We already have it. But for those who don't, Sims 4 is free. They made it free a couple years ago. But recently they've just been putting some games up for free. So I don't know why. Get more money.
Could be. That's what companies do.
Put the stuff that doesn't sell well on for free and then get people to buy the stuff that does sell well.
Yeah.
Capitalism.
Yippee.
Gotta love it. All right. Anything else for the Geeky Week?
Nope.
No.
Okay. So let's talk about GalaxyCon, which was a 3-day event, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Big event. 3-day event.
Huge.
We went to just 1 day. But this was probably the biggest con that we've been to together, correct?
Yes.
Biggest one I've been to for sure.
So that's kind of got its pluses and minuses that we'll talk about throughout this episode. But let's just go around the room with some first impressions. Like, do it again, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So that was the easy one. You would do it again. Let's talk about some of the celebrities that we may have seen or talked to or harassed.
Who harassed people?
No, but I'm just leaving it as an option. So did you guys meet anybody cool?
I gotta look up their names.
Oh my god. Well, while Danny's failing at being a fan, I'll talk about the people who I met. The first person I went to see was Christina V, who is a voice actress in a bunch of animes, notably Sailor Mars in Sailor Moon, and she also plays Riven in League of Legends. So she's done just about everything. She's also really famous for Miraculous Ladybug, but I've not watched that. So I waited in her line for a little while because she got there a little bit late. That's okay.
Womp womp.
It's just really weird because like the way the table was, they had like a tiny little sign like at everyone's table that was like, here are the prices, even if the person wasn't there. But then some of the people in line were saying that like her prices were wrong, so they had to like go and like change her prices, and then they like came back with a sign that said, see you at 11. And of course I'm in line, and if you step out of line, the GalaxyCon people were like, oh, move up. Like they were watching you, like if you stepped out of line. Like it was crazy. So like I had to like see what, like I had to like shimmy to see what the sign said, because they're not saying, oh yeah, she's gonna get here around 11, when they put the sign down. They just put the sign down and walk away. So that was interesting. But once she got there, it was smooth sailing, and I got an autograph from her, and it was awesome. She was so nice.
Very nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I could tell that was one of your priorities of this con, because
Yeah.
we were kind of at the gate waiting for the doors to open. At 10, the doors open. We break the threshold of the convention center, and I said, hey, what do we want to do? We want to try to stick together somehow, or do we want to split up and meet back up at some point? And Amber's like, I'm gone. And she like beeline. I'm like, oh, she's on a mission. Next thing I know, she's texting us that she's in a line. So
yeah, and it was good that I like went straight there, because there might have been like, I don't know, 10 people in front of me, but then they also had the VIP line, but they didn't let too
Passers.
many VIP people in front of me while I was there. So like once Christina V got there, like it moved really fast.
Yeah.
So that was cool. And then towards the end of the con, I went and met, I was just kind of walking around to see, if anybody's lines were short, because I was like, I knew I wanted to get, an autograph or something from Christina V, but then after seeing like everybody else's prices were around the same, I was like, don't think I want to get anything from anyone else. So I just wanted to like see who I could, meet real quick, just say hi to. And a lot of the cast of Has Been Hotel was there. So I was able to meet Kimiko Glenn, and she said his name is Joel Perez. It reads as Joel Perez, so I don't know, but they were both really sweet, and it was cool to meet them. Especially, I felt bad because like the other, like some of the main characters, their lines were a lot longer still at like as people were like leaving. So I was like, I'll just say hi. Who knows? Maybe they're celebrities. Maybe they don't feel lonely, but also maybe, standing right next to a line that's really long and yours is empty might feel a little bad. So
Yeah.
So yeah, that's who I, went out of my way to meet.
Cool.
How about you, Danny?
For me, there wasn't really anyone I was dying to meet. Like, there's a lot of anime voice actors, and I don't really watch the big shonen animes like JJK and Hunter x Hunter and Demon Slayer. I don't really watch a lot of those, and that's a lot of like what those voice actors are there for. So I hopped around to like more of like the shorter lines. So the first person I met was Jack Dylan Grazer, which he plays Eddie in It Chapter 1. And he's also in Luca and Shazam. And he was really nice. His line was pretty short. Got a good 1 or 2 minute conversation. But yeah, and then the second person I met was Patrick Warburton. Is that how you say it?
Warburton?
Yeah, Patrick Warburton.
Kronk.
Which is Kronk. Or
and Putty.
Or the intro guy for Soren. Or Lemony Snicket.
Or the Tick.
Bachelor. I forget who the Bachelor is, but he's the Bachelor's uncle.
Nice. And
I didn't watch that guy's season.
He had a decent line, but I was like I'd want to meet him, so I'm gonna wait in the line. And I get to the front of the line, and basically how it works is they have the con workers. You talk to the con workers before you get to the celebrity, and that's when you can buy your autograph or your selfie or anything like that. And they're like, "Oh, what do you want to buy?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm just trying to say hello." And they're like, "I don't recommend that. You I just don't recommend you just talking to them. Like, you should buy something." And I'm like, well, I already waited in line, so I'm gonna talk to him. And she's trying to explain to me how you should buy something, and the person next to her is like, no, just let him talk to him. And that's kind of what I noticed, that a lot of the smaller people don't really care if you just go and talk to them, but the people with the big lines they won't even let you unless you buy something. So, which is understandable, I guess. The con got to make their money.
Yeah, they have to make enough money to pay the celebrities.
Yeah,
to be there.
But I mean, having a 1 minute conversation takes the same amount of time as signing an autograph. But those are the two main people I met, and then I met Logic the rapper, which is pretty cool. He was probably the biggest celebrity there, I think, other than voice actors.
Well, you also met someone else, just not at the con.
I did. What's his name?
Giancarlo Esposito.
Are you gonna Google Magic Mirror from Once Upon a Time again?
Yes, he came to my job, and I checked him in. But I did not meet him at the con. His line was long. I already met him.
Oh, he was one of the biggest ticket names there.
Yeah. But yeah, those were the people I met, and I enjoyed it. I wanted to meet Murr from Impractical Jokers, but they would not let me talk to him unless I bought something. So.
Dang.
Womp womp. Even though his line was short, he probably would have loved to talk to me, but they would just not let me.
Have you seen Impractical Jokers?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. I didn't know that's something you watched a lot of.
I watched it on TV. It would
just if
have
it's on
episodes, yeah.
What was the TV had episodes of a TV show?
Reruns. They would have reruns.
Yeah.
Those were my people.
I'm sad I didn't get to meet the Blue's Clues people.
Yeah.
Yeah, Steve Burns was there late, probably until it closed. And his line was getting pretty short.
Well, every time I walked past, it didn't seem like he was there.
Oh yeah,
Must have been taking breaks and stuff.
I saw him towards the end.
Did you get to talk to him?
Shirt on. No, I didn't get to talk to anybody.
No.
Oh.
I witnessed them from afar.
Yeah.
And I may or may not have snapped a couple pictures from afar and got told that I wasn't supposed to do that.
I did too.
Which is funny because as I was taking one of the pictures, I was thinking to myself, I wonder if there's an etiquette rule against this. And just as I was thinking that, a guy walked up to me and said, hey, you're not supposed to do that. I was like, okay. I was
Was it
curious
an
about that.
employee or like a fellow con attendee?
I think it was an employee. I think it probably a volunteer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was curious about that, and I'm glad that he set me straight. And
Nice.
yeah, I understand that. At the same time, though, it's kind
It's
of
cool to be able to be like, I was in the room with this person.
I was in the
But
room with Richard Dean Anderson.
who's that?
He was MacGyver. The
Obviously there
real
was a
MacGyver.
wide variety of celebrities there.
Yes, wide variety from
From rappers to MacGyvers.
many years, many genres. Really, really good lineup. I mean, there was some absolute giants in each industry, like William Shatner, obviously
Yeah.
from sci-fi genre. Some wrestlers that are some of the biggest names in wrestling, and TV, voice acting. Each of those categories, they had like a legend in there. So it was a pretty good list of celebs.
It was.
Unfortunately, me and Danny weren't able to meet someone that we wanted to meet because he wasn't there on the day that we went. And that was Damien Hawes from Smosh and also voice acting. Darn.
Very sad.
Very sad. He was on a plane while we were meeting other people.
Super sad. It's okay. Maybe next year.
Yeah, he just needs to not sign on so late.
Yeah. He needs to let us know.
He needs to let us know.
Tag us.
Yeah. Let us know of your whereabouts, Damien Hawes.
Cool. So besides the celebrities, let's talk about the exhibit hall itself and how big it was.
It's huge.
It was so big that we didn't even see it all. There was sky bridges of this convention center to other sections of the convention center that we didn't even step foot into.
Yeah.
Like they had breakout rooms and meeting rooms and stuff, but they had like a whole nother section of another hotel that had, I guess, the video games and tabletop type stuff going on all day.
Yep.
And we didn't even make it over there. So I could see how this could be a multi-day event for someone, and they would definitely get their money's worth because they'd get to see all that. But the main exhibit hall itself, let's talk about that. The main big, huge exhibit hall, which was split up kind of, celebrities on the left, kind of artists and, vendors in the middle, and then mostly just straight up vendors to the right side.
Yeah.
I will say, usually how we do our cons is we do our first lap, check out all the vendors, see what we want to come back to. And I will say, I did my first lap, and that took me about the first hour. And it usually does not take that long. And I took note of what I wanted to go back to, except I could not find, or I had a hard time finding the booth that I wanted to go back to.
Now, did you notice the layout, how the layout was not like straight lines?
Yeah, that weirded me out. That threw me off a lot because I did exactly the same thing, pretty much. Is before I ran to Christina V's table, I was just looking around at the artist alley, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool. I'm gonna come back to this." And then I went, and then I got done over there, and I was like, "Okay," because they gave us the books, which had like a map and the tables, and you're supposed to cross-reference the number on the table with the number with the person's shop name or whatever on it, and then you're supposed to flip back and forth and whatever. But then you're not doing that, You're holding stuff, you're walking, you're not going to stand there with a map in your hand. So it was impossible to know where you were.
So let me try to describe via audio the layout. So as you walk in, let's call that the front. And if you were to walk straight to the back, you'd be walking down one of these, rows.
Mm-hmm.
And then ideally you'd be able to walk front to back and zigzag back and forth
Yeah.
and see everything.
Like
But
a,
about
like a
halfway,
grocery store or something.
right? But about halfway to the back, there was a bisecting line that went right to left, and on the other side of that bisecting line, all of the aisles were shifted. so
Yeah.
so you were walking, and then you got to the halfway point, and you had to make a decision: do I go to the right or go to the left aisle? So you couldn't just zigzag across the whole thing. You'd have to. In retrospect, I should have like zigzagged just the front half,
The front half, and then the back half.
and then zigzagged the back half. And as we were walking out, and I zigzagged this place a couple times because I wasn't standing in lines for celebrities.
Mm-hmm.
As I was walking out, I saw a whole aisle of stuff that I didn't even see the whole time I was there.
Yeah. I was nervous that I was missing people that were cool. Of course I did. But that's just how it is. It was so big.
Yeah, so lots of vendors, and I spent most of the time looking for comics. And I found like 7 comics in the whole Comic-Con. that's an exaggeration, but that's what it felt like. There was maybe 3 vendor booths that even had any comics in them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they were mostly, high-end comics that, graded comics or key issues that were very expensive. I like going and finding, the guy that's got 100 boxes of dollar comics and just, spending 10 minutes paging through them all,
right,
and picking some out.
Mm-hmm.
But that wasn't the case. I didn't see a single vendor that had dollar comics.
It's crazy. I feel like we get a lot of those in our local Comic-Cons. Like at least a good couple.
Yeah. One thing that I was excited about the like main area was, obviously we've been to our local convention a lot, like the past like 4 or 5 years. And so we kind of see the same people every time, like the same artists and same like I don't know, book people and stuff. So
They're called
I was
authors.
Book people.
Book people.
book people.
If only they had a name.
If only book people had a name, bro. If only people who wrote books. Anyways, so I was really excited to see a lot of new people that were maybe not as local or like came from different places and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then we walk in and there's like 500 tables and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. So I've not seen any of these people. So it was really cool to just see like the difference in who was there. Because there was a lot of really fun art.
There was.
And then there were also some like...
I wish I was rich so that I could buy a piece from everyone.
Yeah.
But I couldn't.
Yeah, you have to... The more of these things you go to, the more you have to be very picky about, what you do, which is not fair to the artists. It's not their fault that you bought a bunch of stuff at the last con you went to, but at the same time, you run out of wall space or money, one of the two or both.
Yeah, that's one thing that I was like consciously thinking of. I was like, I have so many like 11x7s like vertical pictures. I'm like, if I need I need some horizontal ones. Give me some landscape style, like just anything that's not portrait style, please. And it was harder than I thought to get square or landscape shaped pieces of art.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all for the square. Bring on more square.
Right. Square is a good size. It's a good shape. But like along with the artists, there were also some like kind of big brands and some like other brands that aren't as big and stuff like that there. Like Danny, you and I walked past the gamer juice people.
Yeah.
Who I forget their brand name, but they sell like sports drink stuff, but they've got like anime branding and
Booty blast flavor.
yeah,
Something.
it's a little sus. I'm sure it's got its audience. I'm sure a lot of people like drinking out of cups with anime waifus on it.
Mm-hmm.
But like it was cool seeing like how the tables, how there were like companies there too.
Yeah.
It looked like no beginner amateur type people at this convention.
Yeah.
I'm sure that the table price was much higher than one of the smaller conventions, so that kind of self moderates who's going to be there. But every booth, it looked like this is what they do. They set up these booths all the time. So
yeah,
lots of people, lots of booths.
I do wonder because there's a good amount of artists who sell like these really, like there's this one artist, I forget their name, but they had these like beautiful graphite photorealistic drawings that take 100+ hours, and they probably sell for like hundreds of dollars. I want to know how much they get from these cons, because a lot of like people going to these comic cons aren't gonna drop $500 on one single piece. I'm wondering on how that goes for them.
I think they probably sell some stuff, but they also are there to promote their commissions.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you see someone with that much talent, you're like, oh, I wish they could do this, and then you ask them, and then they can't do that. It's just going to cost you, of course.
Yeah, that's probably
lots of talent.
Yeah, crazy stuff.
Now they also had the people who I forget the technical term for these types of booths, but the ones that just like kind of resell like Funko Pops and stuff like that. Are those just like called toy booths?
Yeah, they had some collectible companies that specialize just in action figures and other type of collectibles.
But there were some that had like the little like Japanese like mystery box type things, and those are things that like when I go to like the Mall of America or something, I'm always looking at those and like, oh, there's a Pokemon mystery box that you can literally only get in Japan or at these like couple of stores in America that sell them. But like none of them had prices, and I'm not going to be like, and they're probably like way upcharged also, but I'm just like, why can't they just put the prices on the box?
Yeah, I think I know which booth you're talking about. They were big boxes, right? I mean,
no, I'm not talking about the like big themed boxes. I'm talking about the like, like it's like a little figurine that comes in a box in a bigger box, like.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but there's just like different like Pokemon and stuff. I don't know, but they didn't have the prices on any of them. It was weird.
Yeah. I watched.
But then they have their like $90 blanket that they have priced. I'm like, why do you have the $90 blanket priced but not these little boxes? Because they want somebody to be like, how much you want for this little box? $20. They want people to ask.
Yeah.
Be disappointed.
I watch a lot of like art market, like setup art market table with me and stuff on YouTube. And a lot of them say that if you show, or like if your prices are visible, you're like more likely to sell, because like they know the price and people are probably too scared to ask. So like if they know the price, like they're more likely to buy it. And I think that's something smart to know going into tabling and stuff.
Yeah, and the other thing that I noticed was, the kind of the industry standard size, like you said, is 11 by 17, and everything kind of defaults to that. And there's bigger ones, and then there's, the small 4 by 6 type size.
Mm-hmm.
And there's only maybe one table that I remember that had like an 8x10 or 8.5 by 11, whatever it was, size. And that's really big enough for me. I mean,
Yeah.
Mhm.
I want to support an artist. I want to take something home. I don't necessarily want a piece that I'm going to frame and put on the wall,
Mhm.
from every single artist.
Right.
And that artist that we bought those uh, pieces right at the end there,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the perfect
Oh yeah, that was
souvenir.
a great size.
You're not breaking the bank. They were even doing buy one get one free at the end. I don't know if that's a Sunday special.
Yeah, selling their
They've got
stuff.
inventory they need to get rid of.
Right. I saw one person even selling their booth. Did you see that sign?
No,
Like
like the table itself.
like the full upright portion of it. All the backdrop, the whole backdrop. It
Oh.
said backdrop for
Oh,
sale. I thought
wow.
that's brilliant.
Must be their last con.
Well, they might just use it for the whole con and sell it at the end, and then just start fresh on the new one.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess so.
Just it's almost like renting to own. But yeah, a ton of artists, both in like print art,
Yeah.
a lot of artesian type stuff. Whether it's crafting or a lot of stuff being made with laser engravers and laser
Mhm.
burners and stuff like that.
Yeah. I saw a
Which
copper worker, which I've never
Yeah,
seen
that was cool.
like that before. Like, like people can like burn on wood, but like a copper worker, oh my gosh. And they
that
had
stuff is
like,
great.
that was so cool to see. Like, I didn't look at it for too long because I was like on a mission, I forget what for, but it was just like, whoa.
Yeah, I saw that. That was cool.
And I think a leather worker also.
Stuff like that is so cool.
Making custom pieces for the cosplay aspect.
Mhm.
Yeah, those are the Ren Fair people that are like, what do I do when it's not summertime?
Right.
What do I do when the Ren Fair's not here?
Where do the nerds go when they're not outdoors? And speaking of cosplay, let's take a little second here just to talk about some of our favorite cosplay things that you may have just seen walking by, because we didn't get a chance to attend any of the contests or anything.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But just passers-by, start naming out some things that you saw that were pretty cool.
Har, 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 har. Danny,
Freddy
did you see
Fazbear.
Freddy?
Yes,
did you see
I did.
Freddy?
I did.
At the end, I saw a withered Bonnie. That was really cool too.
Oh, I saw that too.
Oh my gosh. I also saw a really cool Powder or Jinx from Arcane. And I was like, I usually just kind of admire from afar, but I've never seen a cosplay that good that I was like, can I take your picture? And then she did a little pose and she was all angry and I'm like, ah. So that was my favorite because I don't know. I don't want to talk to people, but that one I just had to get a picture of because that was so cool.
I saw a guy walking a Cusco.
Yes.
So I think it was Pacha might be his name, Pancha. And so you can all kind of visualize the Trojan horse, right?
Yeah.
How it's a big horse and then it's on wheels. It's standing on a stand at wheels. That's what it was, but that's how he was getting this thing around. But it was the llama from Emperor's New Groove.
Yeah.
See, when you said, did you see Cusco, I thought you meant somebody like as human Cusco.
No.
Hopefully there was no human in there. I don't think there was.
I was waiting in line with him.
I was about
really?
to say, I hope he went to see Kronk.
Well, there was one person who had the big, I don't know, the big backpack tent that the one guy wears in the Emperor's New Groove. And it was like 10 feet tall and they had it on his back, and that's from the movie. They were in front of me in line, and then the Trojan horse llama was behind me in line, and they just wheeled him around. It was cute. I hope they got it signed.
That was cool. One of the more impressive suits I saw, and Danny, you'll have to remind me what it was and what it was from. Was it from Overwatch?
Apex Legends. It
So
was
what person was that?
Pathfinder. He's like a robot.
Yeah, it's like a big mech, but it had like a working computer on the front and a big, like almost like a cannon for an eye or something.
Yeah,
That was
it
pretty
was cool.
impressive.
He walked by us while we got a little snack.
Who else?
Okay. I don't know the character, but the person I was standing in line with to meet Christina V, she had crocheted an entire outfit of a One Piece character. I don't know what One Piece character. I've not seen One Piece, but she crocheted the entire thing.
That's
It was
crazy.
impressive.
And it was crazy. Like, while we were in line, like 5 people came and were like, "Oh my god, you crocheted that? Can I get your picture?" And it was so cool. Like, even her wig that she made was just like yarn. It was incredible. She
Wow.
looked so cool. Yeah. But besides that, I didn't really pay attention as much as I usually do to cosplay.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one cosplay that I didn't see as much of as I usually do, and I'm really happy that I didn't. And this is just an old dude being editorial from an old dude. But it seemed like the first couple cons we went to, if you were a female, you were going to be Harley Quinn. And in this con, I might have seen one. And normally you see a ton. And
I don't know if I saw any.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to see that there's not just a default, for females to cosplay, and there's plenty of characters. And I think, and again, this wasn't a Comic-Con. This was a con. This was a, multi sci-fi everything type con. So
Yeah.
Logic was there.
yeah. But it was about halfway through the day that I noticed, I was like, I haven't seen 27 different Harley Quinns yet. And that makes me kind of happy that there's a lot more choices being made. So
Yeah.
that was cool.
Yeah. I feel like a majority of it was anime. Because those are a lot of them are pretty easy. Or easier than like big mech suits and stuff.
You just belittled all the cosplayers saying it was so easy.
No, it's not easy. I would have loved to cosplay, but I do not have anything. The only thing I have is a Spider-Gwen suit, and it's really hot, and I did not want to wear it.
Speaking of, though, the AC was pumping. Like, it was, I don't think I was warm at all. And I was expecting to be warm. The AC was doing its job.
It was.
That's what you get for a big time convention center like that.
Yeah.
Not some little hall that you usually go to. All right. So how about the breakout rooms? Now, there was 3 days packed of stuff in, I don't know, 6 or 7 different meeting rooms.
Yeah.
Staggered. All the times were staggered. So if something was starting at noon, something was starting at 12:15 in another room, and then 12:30 in another room. So they had a packed schedule, and we were only there for 1 day. And of that day, you don't want to spend all the time in those meetings. So we picked out just a handful of things to see, and let's talk about those real quick.
Yeah.
So the first one we stepped into was the Roll for Initiative, 50 years of Dungeons and Dragons.
Well, first was Peter Cullen Q&A.
Well, that's true. Yeah, we went in there
just for a couple minutes.
We were going to see that for a couple minutes, and that was one of the big, what they call that, the hero stage or something.
Yeah.
Or the super stage. It was a big room. Probably a couple hundred people could fit in it. Big stage. And Peter Cullen, obviously a legend in voice acting. A lot more stuff than, mostly you just hear Optimus Prime, but he's been doing this so long that there's so many things that you didn't even know he did.
Yeah, I didn't know he was Eeyore. But he was cool.
It makes sense because Eeyore is just a depressed Optimus Prime. Autobots. roll out. You know, so, but it was a Q&A with him, and the kind of MC that was queuing the thing up asked him a couple questions to get him started, and he was doing a great job, just kind of throwing a couple voices and sound effects in there as he went. I thought that was so cool, and talking about what it was like to do that over the many years that he's done it. So we only get to see that for a couple of seconds, 15 minutes, because staggered off 15 minutes later was something that we did want to see, and that was the 50-year history of Dungeons and Dragons. And we didn't really know what that was going to entail, other than the fact that if I read you the description in the book, it says, join us for this very brief, not at all comprehensive, but fully entertaining look at the roots, history, and future of Dungeons and Dragons. And I wish the book had listed the guy's name so we could give him a shout out.
Right. He was so good.
Because it was not brief, and it was certainly comprehensive. It was, I told Amber afterwards, it was almost like a dissertation or research paper for college, on this subject. It was that detailed, and he did have some good comedy thrown throughout it, as much comedy as you can talk about, the history of a company. But
to kind of describe it as something that Danny might know better and some younger people might know better. It was he had like a PowerPoint presentation, but it was definitely in the style of like those video essays that you see on YouTube, where he's like cracking jokes in there, and like kind of memeing on like, if people do know this thing that happens in the future, then he's like, and that's totally not going to be a problem later. So
right. Yeah.
it was really funny to see like something like the business of Dungeons and Dragons, but like pretty interesting the way he did it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because when you think about Dungeons and Dragons, you think about this small little genre of gaming that is obviously super successful, but unless you tracked it, unless you were a fan that tracked this kind of stuff, you wouldn't know the ebbs and flows that company, that product, that whole industry has been through. And to hear it described, it was pretty fascinating to me, because you just think, okay, it was something that we did 50 years ago, it got really popular, and then we all grew up, and it kind of disappeared from our minds, and then now it's kind of making
Stranger Things happened, and then
Stranger Things happens, and it gets back into the front line, but really there was a lot of stuff going on that you just didn't realize.
Yeah.
A lot of bad business decisions by, it was almost your typical corporation, like the guys that make it, decide, hey, we need somebody that's smarter than us to be like a CEO, and that CEO does horrible things to it.
Fires them immediately.
I mean, there's a lot of parallels to the Apple Corporation. But yeah, pretty interesting, and didn't realize how much stuff was going on behind the scenes.
And didn't realize how much stuff is currently happening because, as you guys know, I play Magic, which is Wizards of the Coast, which I guess owns D&D, but they both are owned by Hasbro, and Hasbro's kind of not being smart about anything right now, which I didn't know. Here I am, like, buying my little Magic cards and playing my little D&D games, and Hasbro's, like, not caring about them at all, despite having a very, very, very successful game of the year last year.
Now, have you heard the term crack in a pack before?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that was the first time I heard that. That was one of my favorite takeaways, was hearing Magic described as crack in a pack.
Yeah, that's what you do. You open a pack, you crack the pack.
I don't think that's what they mean.
Well, the way he said it was silly.
I think they mean more from an addiction standpoint.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, that was good. And then we saw another one on the list that we thought we would enjoy, and that was 50 Years of Wolverine. Which let me go ahead and read that one. The description of that one: join legendary X-Men / Wolverine writer Chris Claremont and revolutionary writer editor Ann Nocenti as they discuss the work of Marvel's most popular mutant. Now, I'm not real familiar with Ann Nocenti, but Chris Claremont is an absolute legend at Marvel. He had a run of 16 years in a row of X-Men writing, along with the rest of his 50 or so year career there. But you don't usually, as a writer doesn't usually have a 16-year run on a single title like that. So, I mean, he basically wrote a generation of this comic. A name that among comic, writers or artists or employees is one of the top 10 probably. So I'm thinking, wow, this is going to be awesome because he had a big long line, in the convention center, people getting his autograph and stuff. So let's go sit in this little breakout room and listen to him talk about Wolverine, everybody's favorite mutant. So how'd that go?
Well, it was entertaining, but they way less organized, I would say. They were just kind of, I think he made the joke of like, this is why I'm the writer and you're the editor, because he was just like talking, and then what was her name?
Ann Nocenti.
And then Ann Nocenti would be like, yes, let's wrap this up. And next question, but like also throwing a couple things in there. So it was a lot less talk about Wolverine than I was expecting, but still really cool to hear kind of like the ins and outs of the olden times of comic book writing, because I think they're both retired now. So they were both definitely like, back in our day,
yeah,
we ate lunch together.
So yeah, which was pretty interesting to hear.
Which is fair, yeah.
That such a simple change in the industry as like when you all work in the same office and you all go eat lunch or you go have a meeting together, there's ideas that get pinged back and forth between you that today, if
it's just all over email and stuff.
An artist may be in his home studio doing all the art, and the writer's in his home studio doing all their writing, and it gets compiled somewhere and printed and shipped. So that was kind of interesting. And then the other thing is, this guy did this, right? He was the man for all those years, but since then there's been a lot of people that have tackled those projects, and sometimes
he didn't really disagree, or he didn't really
take directions that you don't agree with, which is completely fine, and I can completely understand, from some of the creative works that I've done, that when someone changes something of it, whether it's a song or something, when someone makes a change to it down the road, you're like, well, that's not the way it's supposed to be. That's not the way that it was ever intended. And
yeah, like like the poor guy who was like, so he had the last question, so he was like kind of Russian. He's like, so I love Old Man Logan. Is that kind of how you viewed Wolverine to kind of go? And his brief answer, because we were running out of time, he's like, no, not at all. I didn't want that at all.
I didn't read it, and I think he was self-admitting that if something wasn't his cup of tea, it's like, hey, fine. If you enjoy that, you enjoy that.
Yeah.
That's not the way it was intended to be. When you almost create a character and have him evolve through decades of work, and then something radical changes, then I guess you have every right to say, well, that was never supposed to be that way. But
yeah.
So it was interesting. It was definitely not scripted at all. I think he does. He goes to a lot of conventions, and I could see where you kind of want it not to be scripted, because you would get bored if you had to go and say the same stories over and over and over again. But
yeah,
it was was interested just to hear them kind of rattle some stories off, and he's recalling things from 30, 40 years ago like it was yesterday, like, oh, when I wrote issue 97, he's naming them off by issues, like in issue 97 so and so does this and so does that, and then that kind of culminates into issue 103. I'm like, wow, I can't remember what I had for lunch, and this guy's rattling off plot lines from 30, 40 years ago. But yeah,
I am interested in those storylines he was mentioning about Wolverine and Kitty Pryde, because I didn't know that they were like so close in the comics. I guess when he was writing them, and then everything happening in Japan, I didn't know Japan was such a big deal to Wolverine besides the Wolverine movie. So right. Now looking at that, I wonder if he watched that, because it's probably definitely taken from his ideas, but probably not as well done as he would have hoped.
Yeah. And yeah, I think I do have that miniseries, the Wolverine and Kitty Pryde miniseries. I think it was like a 4 or 6 issue miniseries from the 80s. We'll have to crack that out and check it out. But one last thing from that little sit down, it was, he had mentioned what Stan Lee had told everybody, and that I thought that was so cool, that you've got a character and it may change hands from writer to writer, or even from artist to artist. And he says, you can take that character off the shelf and you can play around with it.
Do whatever you
want. But when you put it back on the shelf, make sure it's in the same condition as it was when it came off.
Or if you do change something, make sure you have a good reason why.
Right. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Danny, did you get to sit in on any of the little breakout sessions?
I did not.
You're too busy scoping out all the celebs.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah. So of a dozen pages of schedule, we got to see 2 1/4, breakout rooms, which again, I think on big conventions, like I've been to like a 7-day convention, like a tech convention, there's always going to be something that you want to see that is going on at the same time as something else, but they sprinkle it back in later in the week at a different time up against a different subject, and you get to see it. In this 3-day setting, if you didn't get to see something Friday night that you wanted to see, then you're just not going to see it. So I can definitely see how had we more time and planning and stuff, maybe a couple days would have been pretty cool. But again,
had Amber not work on Fridays and Saturdays.
Right. Cool. What else? Anything else about the convention that you guys want to talk about?
I think that's about it.
Yeah.
I think we covered everything.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's end with this question. Now that you've been to a big con like this, and again, this is a multi-genre con, and you've been to a local Comic-Con, and I guess one of the ones we've been to several times is kind of a comic and toy convention. Which style do you prefer? The big name, big celebrities, huge production, or the smaller type one?
I enjoy the big cons because it gives you a lot of things to do. But the small cons are nice because it's not as crowded. The big cons can be a little overwhelming with a lot of people, a lot of foot traffic. But I'd say I like the big cons. I like having a lot to do.
How about you, Amber?
I think I agree. Just like having the other little events going on. that's a really nice touch. Gives you a reason to be there for a long time. Because, like, at, like, a smaller con, you really only have, like, at least at ours, the one that we've been to, you've got, you know, the booths, and you've got the cosplay convention, and that's really the only thing going on. So it's nice to have, you know, even if it's not just, like, the big celebrities, like, the, like, bigger but still not quite as big one that we went to, like the other, like, Richmond Comic Con that we used to go to, like, years ago, that didn't have as big of the celebrities, but it still had like the trivia sessions and, like, the video display, stuff like that. So I like that there's stuff to do at the bigger cons.
All right. I think the best answer that we got from that was the fact that when I asked the question, you both had to think about it. So I'm happy with that. And I do agree with you, Amber, that the original con that we went to in Richmond, it was a small con that was set up and trying to be a big con. So they had, I think they had some decent sponsors. They had some breakout rooms. They had some discussions, but the convention floor itself was still rather small. So I think that's my ideal one right there.
Yeah.
Give me a small con with lots of stuff to do, and I'll be happy with that. But I did enjoy this one. I'm just not the type to pay a bunch of money to go say hi to a celebrity. But
yeah, that's the turning point, I think, for me, or the selling point, I guess, is like I've seen all those kind of, like, you know, awesome con advertisements and stuff like that, you know, stuff that's nearby, but not a lot of them have brought people that I actually know a lot about. So there hasn't really been any reason for me to be like, yes, I will spend this extra however many money to go to this bigger con because I want to see this person.
right.
So
now
they just need the right names, I guess, for me to want to go to a big con.
Yeah. Now the good thing was that a good percentage of these big names were in some of these breakout sessions throughout the 3 days. So
yeah,
if you just wanted to, listen to them and ask questions, then that was totally available to most of them, but not all of them.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to wrap up this episode. Danny just got kicked off for some reason, technical difficulties. So she says her goodbyes via text.
At least she got her piece in.
Yeah. But we're going to wrap up this episode by saying we thank you as always for listening. Go check out the socials. Check out the lineup. If you didn't get to go to GalaxyCon, check out the lineup. It should still be on their website, and see all the awesome people that were there. And until next time, peace out.
Peace out and geek out.
Thank you for listening to the Family Geekery podcast. For more information, visit www.familygeekery.com. Don't forget to subscribe at your favorite podcast provider. And until next time, peace out and geek out.